Hello, anybody, somebody, nobody, whoever may never see this is Z3 Dog Thunder Faust, the Wiv. Come back to you some more. Random stuff. This is gonna be some Warhammer 40k and some Star Wars Legions. Uh, First and foremost, let me bring out the big bad. Okay, so first day of LVO is over. LVO is Las Vegas Opens, one of, if not the biggest, Warhammer tournament collective annually, and I picked up the top 10 players for day one, what armies they were probably running, and their point totals, along with a few other people, and I was going to run through it all. And then I was going to talk about a bit about Star Wars Legions afterwards. So if you're interested in that, stick around. So first thing of LVO. First place is TJ Bruce running Demons, I believe undivided, not confirmed, but based on what he was prior running, it was undivided, and I believe they still are. And they got a perfect, and they're the only one to get a perfect 100 across the board for 300 points for their 3 matches. There's a tie for second place with Damian Owen from Pro Tabletop running Goffs, and Harlequins from Mike Porter from Vanguard Tactics, both at 297. Tied for fourth place, 3-way tie, is for fourth place is Folger Piles, Watchers in the Dark team with Yanari, Sean Naden from Team Battle Brothers with, again, Goffs, and Kraken Nids from Nicholas from the Windy City Warlords at 296. So between 300 and 296, we're not even at 295 yet, less than 5 points, and that's the top 6 players. Seventh, we have David Gaylor from Dicetown running Chaos, unconfirmed what more that is, at 295. For eighth, we have Quinn Kateki from Team Warp Strike with Grey Knights at 294. And a tie for ninth place from Alex Art of War with his Tyranids, and George Bobkoff with, again, Chaos unconfirmed at 293. I'm going to go through top 50 players just to say their names real quick, but it's not going to be me going over their armies from that point. Okay, so we have Derek Apesh at, actually, sure, I could do this, with Cuddle Buddies with Grey Knights, Daniel Olivis, Smite Club with Harlequins, Stephen Box, Vanguard Tactics with Asurani, so Craft World, John Lennon, from Art of War with High Fleet Kraken, Thomas Ogden, Death or Glory with Tau Sept specifically, Matthew Monsieur, Tundra Tactics with Chaos, unconfirmed which, could be Space Marines, I don't know, Jack Harpster, Art of War with Blood Angels, Joel Wilson, Xenos Petting Zoo with Necrons, our first Necrons at 18, Stephen Cawley, Death or Glory, and this is 289, so and that's 19th place. So if you got less than 10 points, then you didn't score because you had 2 perfects, then you're not even gonna make top 20. Sweet Lou Banff, Necrons as well, love it. Sam Propio, from first placeholders with Blood Angels. Garrett Guile, U.S. Space Force, Adeptus Custodes, so that's our first Custodes. Cody Hostler from Xenos Petting Zoo with Grey Knights. Nation Fuchani, War Masters, Tau Empire. Kyle Grundy, Vanguard Tactics, Tau Empire. Ryan Verbeck, Forge World Columbia, Tyranids. Ali Huang, Making Saves, Thousand Suns. Chase Chappell, Xenos Petting Zoo with Yanari. Brick Taylor, otherwise known as the streamer Bricky, with Adeptus Sororitas. He placed 29th, coming in with a 95, 97, 92, which puts him a 9 points diff between making the top 10, and a total of 16 points from perfect. And there is 18 people between the top 10 and him, which is a 9 points diff. So I'm going to go into the points afterwards because that really comes down to something that I want to talk about, which can seem almost hypocritical from my last video. But carrying on, we're past halfway. Alejandro Mosco Serrano, La Voz de Horace from Blood Angels. Joshua Bourdin, Vanguard Tactics with Farsight Enclaves. Ron Fippen, Brooklyn strategist, world eaters. Anthony Vanella from Art of War with CSM. Stuart Trainer with Comrades, Gene Stealer Cult. Hey, I didn't expect them to be pretty up there. There's a lot of armies that haven't been mentioned yet, so it's pretty cool. The Gene Stealers made it there. I didn't think they would. Michael Mann from Denver Mountain Trolls with Orcs. Donald Hudson, Smite Club with Death Guard. Hey, Death Guard. It surprises me and I enjoy it when I see an army that most people discount making it to the top. Oh, it's the worst armies in the game. The metadata. You're an idiot. Colin McDade, Adeptus Sororitas, SF40K. Riley Tremblay, Northern Front, Asurni. Ricardo Barrantes de Ruyus, War Dice, with Astra Militarum. Now this, unless I'm mistaken, for LVO does not include the new guard. So this is old guard, top 40. Interesting. Lucas Troller, best in tabletop with Orcs. A lot of Orcs. Matt Laura, Vanguard Tactics, Grey Knights, Dan Hayden, Gene Stealer Colt, Dine Williams, Warp Dust, Crusaders, David Elderman, Brooklyn Stratus, Yanari, Chris Johnson, Lightly Salted, Tyranids, Robin Roberts, Nerd Bar, Gene Stealer Colt, Stephen Foster, Rolling Sixes with Harlequins, Andrew Gonyu, Art of War with Tau Empire, and Tom Cohen, Denver Mountain Trolls with Imperial Knights. Hey, I thought they'd make it. Yeah. Okay. Now there are, from this entire roster of people, 963 players. Of the 963, it appears that 3 to 4 of them were no-shows. Because one apparently showed up to every game and just got no points and forfeited. And his data is just kind of weird, so I don't know about that. And then a couple, it looks like 6 to 7 rage quits after the first to second match. It became obvious that they were not going to place well, so they just kind of left, either in at the end of their first or end of their second match. A lot of disquals. But overall, it's actually about 1.5 to 2% of the total players that showed up ended up kind of doing that. Either half that was no-shows, and the other half was people quitting after they placed really bad. And a lot of people who placed bad afterwards just kept playing, which is great. That's wonderful. Love to see it. I do want to see really quick. There was one other player. There we go. Demeki, Kyle Dame, is 897th. Apparently he didn't do so great. He was running Deathwing. He got a 67, 61, 67, 34 with 0 wins. All 3 of those are losses. But, 61, 67 on loss, not bad. Those ones, 34 is more unfortunate, but those are good losses. If it was a local, he'd still be in contention. I feel like there's more wiggle room. So, with that said, between first and third place, first and eighth almost, there is 6 points of difference between 300 and 294. The top 8 players after tomorrow are going to go into the final day of qualifiers to see who's going to be the best player. It's going to be the top 8. So, even though I did top 10, it's really going to come down to the top 8. So, all the people that did well today, they need to catch up to that 300. Now, when you're playing the game, right, you get 45 points for, let me scroll over here now, 45 points for your primaries. After that, it's capped. You won't get any more. It should cap me here. Oh, well, it doesn't. Well, this is goofy. That's not right. Oh, wait, no, it does. It does cap me. That's 36. Excellent. So, the most you can score is 45. Which, if you're the one scoring 45, then your opponent is not scoring 45. So there will be, if you're not doing that every round, then you're not going to make the top placement. Just because of, let's see, that's, if you don't hold it for that, that's already 5 points, which is going to put you in 7th place. You play 3 games, and you get maxed out objectives. Let's say you do, and this is going to be something else. Depending on what secondaries you take, this is where secondaries, I usually say, like, secondaries, in my last, I think it was either my last video or one before that, that they don't win you the game necessarily. That is true, but in the tournament, it's about war. And this is where it can get weird. That there's some instances where players will not do certain actions because it will hurt their point totals more than vice versa. But realistically, from checking out other data from previous tournaments, at this point, it doesn't. It's the person is losing depending on how bad, unless their thing is likewise this. They're not gonna want to, like, this is where they would both, like, play pretty conservative and try to score as most points as possible. You could try to BM your opponent to screw them out of points, or you can try to be nice, but either way, you're influencing the tournament data by having them score higher than they normally would or should. Now, you can score up to 45 on secondaries, and this is where it gets a little weird, because what you need on the mission at the bare minimum is 9, because some secondaries don't go to 15, they go to 12. So the max the variable max is 12 up to 15 for a total of 45. And so if you do 3 12s, potentially, like, your opponent doesn't have a good, and then it could be less if you really just don't have good choices, then you might have to do risky things. Like, your opponent, if your opponent has, like, for instance, if you're trying to get the number 1 slot, and your opponent has 4 characters, then if you take assassination, you will not. If you take assassination, you cannot get number 1 unless you get more on the mission secondary. Then, because you'll get 14, and that person had a perfect score. So then he has to compensate with this secondary instead. And so, when it comes to the actual tournament, then you actually have to score massive amounts. You have to get your secondaries maxed. To the top placements, you need to get your secondaries maxed. And you need to have complete board control nigh from the beginning. Because even if you get your secondaries maxed, let's say 15, 15, 15, you're not going to win that way, and now you're 5 points behind. You think, oh, well, it's only 5 points. Yeah, but that's 1 game. 3 games later, boom, that's minus 15 points, and you're now about 28th place next to Bricky. So you didn't even do that bad. You dominated the game, basically. Because this doesn't mean your opponent held more necessarily. You could have just tied. But you need to, from the get-go, destroy them off their primaries, control the entire board, and start maxing your secondaries, which can be very fucking challenging. And so, with player place terrain, it does change things up as well, which is very good. It's an experience not many people will be necessarily used to. Bricky's army did quite well. I am curious if he had psychic matchups, because his army list was heavily against psychers in some ways. And he had some interesting choices for his take, but I'm glad he did well, because I don't really consider that to be one of the penultimate sisters lists, and I think he does too. So that's very healthy to see, and that actually, he should be more proud of. I think, and he's probably glowing right now on how well he did, which is great. I think he should be even more proud, because it's not Argent Shroud and it's not Bloody Rose. He did very good. Now, whether or not he got a lot of psychers could change that, because then he is, like, playing into a winning matchup. But that remains to be seen. Hopefully, there'll be some review footage and stuff about Art of War, Tabletop Tactics, Play on Tabletop, Dice Check members, to include Bricky, to talk more about how they did and give some fun stories. So again, the first army was Demons. Now, previously, his list was not like this, I believe, and it had the Flamers when they're super buffed, But since the changes, I'm not sure if that is the case. I believe the changes have gone through to LVO for these changes. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure. So, Flamers should not be too ridiculous, but nonetheless, they're a good choice still. So, one thing that I am sure of is these three motherfuckers. He definitely had Bloodthirster, and if he doesn't have this set up, I will be shocked. For the number one player, what was his name? TJ Bruce for Demons. So, Bloodthirster with the Argath King of Blades and Relentless Carnage, I believe. To make Indomitable Onslaught. Gives him a wound cap. Lord of Change with Staff of Zinj, Infernal Gateway, and then from there, Bolt of Change and probably Infernal Flames if he brought Flamers. If not, then maybe Boon or Treason or something. Impossible Robe, and then probably Master Mutator. Otherwise, you could take a defensive one. But with a perfect score, I'm going to lean on the extra mortals. It is spooky damage. Be'lakor, Big Nasty himself with his own Warlord trait, and then whether or not he's Penumbral Curse and Betraying Shades, I don't know, but those are the better picks in my opinion for Demons Undivided. And then if you just run those big three by themselves, that's like half your army, I think, or more. Yep, it's more. It's 1,135 points. So you have less than 900 points to spend on units that can help you additionally hold and take objectives, etc. So it is, and depending on what missions again they got, which the missions were pre-decided, and I'm not going to go into all that though. Definitely you could build different ways. That's basically it. I just wanted to go over on how if you're playing from tournament, if you watch any of my videos, I like to be proud of my content, and some of my armies I feel like are either quite similar. I'll literally see them being played on the tournament level, so it's like, oh yes, I do know what I'm doing. Or likewise, so they are good lists. I recommend you build your own, or you take a look at the tournament winners and play some of those, get a feel for them. Maybe make some changes, maybe don't. If you like it, keep it. If you don't, change it. Yeah, Demons are pretty strong. Flamers are still good. They're just not like broken impressive, but damn, they're still good. There are some surprises there in the top 50 for armies, and there's a lot of stuff that didn't make the cut, which I was a little surprised at. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't think there was a single Drukhari there. I don't think there was a single Space Marine there. No, Blood Angels, and Grey Knights. There was an Admech. There was Custodes. I could be wrong. Maybe there was a Deathwing. I don't think there was. Grey Knights, Blood Angels. You know what also wasn't there? Iron Hands. So maybe some stuff hasn't gone through. I'm not 100% on that. There was like 2 or 3 sisters lists. I think there were, 2 or 3. So there wasn't that much for Imperium. There was like 4 Craft World, 3 or 4 Craft World, no Drukhari, I think 2 Gene Stealer Colts, like 4 or 5 Harlequins, no Voton, 2 Necrons, bunch of Orcs. There's like 6 Orcs, like 4 Tau, same with Tyranids, and then there's some Yannari. So overall, the vast majority was Space Elves, I think. Space Elves and Chaos, be that Space Marines or Demons, unsure. And from there, I just can't narrow down because there's so much Chaos. Some stuff is just listed Chaos. That could even be Chaos Knights for all I bloody know. But, that was exciting data to see. I did watch some of it. I don't know if anybody else checked it out too for some of the tournaments that games that were being played. As a little hobby thing to do today. So that was cool. If anybody doesn't know why this is absurd, then good for you. You haven't played it, and then you didn't play it in its prime, which was these Flamers getting maxed out, and then you just bring an Exalted Flamer as well. This list was so much stronger. It used to be so much stronger. And they had point hikes as well. And from the original conception, Be'lakor was also nerfed. He needs another nerf. He's not talked about. Flamers need a small nerf, and Be'lakor needs a fucking nerf. With that said, yeah, I don't think there's anything else I really want to talk about. I don't really want to go into all of the armies. Maybe I'll do the top 8 after 2 to 3 days from now. once I get that information. But like, I'm not gonna go over the almost 1,000 players and all their different armies and the matchups. And fuck that. I was surprised that Kraken Nids made the top 4. That was surprising, but you know, take it. Let's see. Happy that Grey Knights made it there. Oh wait, no, I don't think there was any 1,000 Suns, or maybe there was a single 1,000 Sun in the top 50. Let's see. Another Nids. So there's 2 Goth Orcs, 2 Nids, and Yanari, a Harlequin, Chaos Demons, some generic Chaos. Alright. Yeah. Definitely looking into some compilation videos and some stories. It was at the Rio again, which I think is pretty funny. I'm looking forward to Bricky's video complaining about it. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't. This is also my first day joining Bricky's Discord channel because I was hoping there was gonna be some funny stuff uploaded, and I quickly found it to be very cringe. So I trolled some of the cringe people, and I kind of just left. I'm just gonna leave it on idle because it's I don't know, trolls and some fanboys that just, you know, they want to be, lack of a more non-woke term, kind of autistic in his chat. So, that was interesting. With that said, part 2 of this video is going to be now about, Star Wars Legions. So, I was debating if I should really make this a separate thing. Yeah, if people give a shit, they'll watch it. Yeah, no, I'll do its own video. Sorry, I lied.